Welcome to this week's episode of The Second Scoop. I'm Chris Cheng, here to give you this week's big gun news. In our lead story, a terrorist attack was thwarted in Garland, Texas over the weekend. Two men with rifles were planning to attack a Mohammed cartoon drawing contest. And this contest was designed to offend and be provocative. Many people consider images of Mohammed to be sacrilegious and blasphemous. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack, although it was a failed attack. Two men appeared on site with rifles, but within 15 seconds, a police officer took down both assailants and the immediate threat was subdued. However, there was concern that the bag that one of the terrorists had and the car that they came in perhaps were laden with explosives, and so law enforcement had to spend a few hours clearing the area, making sure it was secure. But in the end, this just goes to show that the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Thanks to the law enforcement in Texas who helped prevent a terrorist attack from occurring on U.S. soil. In our second story, Newsweek shares an opinion piece written by an assistant professor at a college who is asking the question, will campus carry result in grade inflation? She tells a few stories about how a student has intimidated her, and she has felt intimidated and pressured by the student to raise that student's grades on papers and assignments and such. And so she's concerned that if students are carrying guns in the classroom, that she's going to feel even more pressure, and not just her, but other professors nationwide will feel more pressure to inflate grades that they give on assignments. Now, I think this is totally ridiculous. Now, one, if a student is intimidating you, especially with threats of violence, that's when you call the police and you get them involved, and you don't stay silent and just raise their grades to make them happy and keep them calm. Second, if a student wants to carry a gun in a classroom, they're going to do so whether they have a permit or not. Now, I'm not saying that you should break the law, but all I'm saying is that if you are a law-abiding citizen who wants to follow the law, and if you're permitted to have a firearm in class, you're following the law. You're not going to intend to do anything illegal. Now, if a CHL, which is a concealed handgun license holder, brandishes a weapon or threatens violence against a professor, I mean, that's illegal. So this professor's fears that increased campus carry will lead to grade inflation, I think, is an irrational fear. And again, if a student is threatening the professor, they should involve campus authorities. Campus carry legislation is currently a hot topic item in many state houses throughout the country. We'll continue to keep you updated here on The Second Scoop. In our next story, Bass Pro Shops has opened up a fantastic and fascinating new store in Memphis, Tennessee. And it's in the shape of a pyramid. This 32-story tall store has 105 hotel rooms, a swamp with live alligators, they've got a bowling alley, they've got shooting and archery ranges, an observation deck at the top of the pyramid. This store is one of the coolest stores that Bass Pro has put out there. Full disclosure, I am professionally sponsored by Bass Pro Shops, so I'm not impartial in this regard, and I totally love what's going on with this new store. I can't wait to go visit it, and if you're in the Memphis, Tennessee area, I highly encourage you to check it out. This week's story of a good guy with a gun brings us to Houston, Texas, where early in the morning an employee was going to his place of work. He had a bag underneath his arm. Next thing you know, he's got a gun to the back of his head. Little did the assailant know that this employee had a concealed handgun license and was able to draw and shoot the perpetrator and actually killed him in the process. And so what are we left with? Just another dead criminal instead of a dead innocent person. This employee is probably counting his lucky stars that he had a CHL permit and was able to defend himself and his life. And once again, another example of how the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Finally, the video of the week takes us to 22 Plinkster, who is a phenomenal shot. In this video, he shows us how he can split not just one card with a .22 pistol, but two cards overlapping in an X, and he tests whether he can shred both cards with a single shot. Head on over to his YouTube channel to check out the video. Well, can you believe it? That's it for this week's episode of The Second Scoop. Looking forward to coming back to you next Tuesday with the week's big gun news. I'm Chris Cheng for The Second Scoop. Thanks for watching.